Leica, welcome back to my channel. We are continuing with Buried and this is chapter 4, part 2. The room is enormous, so large that to call it a room seems silly. A large concrete floor stretches out below an expansive lofted ceiling. The area is mostly empty, except for one side which is rows and rows of metal barrels. Back on the far wall is a lit area that seems to expose more rooms, labs and machinery. Also in the rear of the hangar I can see some kind of chamber or control centre. Dennis and I follow Amy across the hangar floor. Behind us is a series of rough, slithering sounds that tells us that the creatures have made their way into the hangar. From somewhere up ahead, a loud buzzing noise sounds out. It reminds me of the slight buzzing noise I'd heard in the forest, the noise that had got me into all this trouble in the first place. I look ahead and see that in the far back of the hangar a bright red light is flashing. There is a small hatch on the door below the light. That hatch is open and I can see a shape inside it. I can barely make out the figure of a man standing there holding an industrial microphone. As soon as I see him, I hear his huge amplified voice. It blares down over the intercom system and he sounds pissed. I don't know who the hell you are, he says, but this is a government facility on lockdown and there are protocols too. Shit! I assume the curse coincides with the exact moment he sees the creatures. They are making their way through the hangar doors. There are maybe 20 feet between us and the creatures. I act instinctively, firing twice as the handgun comes alive in my hands. One shot goes into the core of one monster, causing them to jerk backwards. Another shot slows down another. The accuracy I can get with a 9mm is amazing. Amy and Dennis take the cue and start firing as well. The floor becomes littered with a swirling white fluid from the wounded creatures' bodies, but they are not slowing down. The alarm keeps shrieking behind us, and when I turn to see if anything has changed back there, I trip over my feet. I hit the ground hard in an almost comic fashion, slide several feet across the floor. From the ground I see that I have managed to turn back 4 of them, but I also see that my estimate of a dozen is off. There are at least 20 of them. Their sick dim light, sinister and gloomy. Their appendages seem to bind together as they come forwards. My only hope of survival is the man at the far doorway has somehow shuts the hangar doors. His voice comes blaring over the intercom again, broken by the booming noise of the gunfire that we are laying down. Run here towards the isolation chamber. I am not sure how much time we have, and I realise I can sprint ahead of Amy and Dennis, or I can hang back and give them cover. Well, I think I shall be a hero, and I will keep shooting to cover this. Go inside where that guy is, I say. I'll make sure we don't have any of those things right on our tails. I'll hold him back for a while. I know it sounds macho, but it also feels like the right thing to do. I have to at least try to give us some kind of chance of escape. So as Amy and Dennis run through the doors, I blast at the next thing I see moving. All I get from my troubles is a static-like hiss and a high-pitched whistling noise. I'm able to beat them back a bit, forcing them to scatter. Each flicker of light is a small victory. If nothing else, I'm buying Amy and Dennis time. When I'm certain there is nothing more I can do, I turn and run. I hustle quickly, catching up to Amy and Dennis, who stop and turn to provide me with cover fire. There, Amy says, pointing to the small door where the man was standing earlier. The swarm is less than 15 feet away now, so furious that they are pushing through one another to get to us. I raise my handgun and fire, taking time to aim. I hit one in the spider-like part of its body. I fire again, this time taking one in the core. I place 2 more rounds into this creature, eventually causing it to move backwards. We are in the middle of the hangar floor now, with the isolation chamber ahead and the monsters behind. Besides me, Dennis also fires. The kick of the gun jolts him, probably a result of him being weakened from blood loss. His shot lands true, causing a jerking stumble and a flickering of its light. We're almost in, Amy yells as we get close to the door and we hope he'll save us. I'm going to be kind. Get inside inside, I yell. I tell Amy and Dennis, motioning for them to get moving with my gun. I open the door and give Dennis a push towards it. I take him down. He resists, more eager to try taking down another of the beasts before he makes it to safety, which he eventually gives in. I wait a bit to make sure Amy's inside too. I fire up a few rounds on the creatures until still heading towards us, hoping to slow them down. When Amy and Dennis clear the door, I nearly dash aside, but then I feel something seep into my back. Roger! Dennis yells. The pain in my back is so immense that I barely notice the fact I am being lifted from the floor. I look down and I see that one of the creatures is using its flowing arms to grab me by the waist, its tentacle to wrap it around me. It lifts me into the air, as if presenting me as a trophy to its friends. I try to focus, attempting to angle my arm in a way that will allow me to aim the handgun and place a bullet into its body. But it's shaking me so violently, its body parts are appearing and disappearing in a way that makes no sense, and the oddity of its structure. I can literally do nothing more than hang there like a rag doll hoping to be saved. As it continues to hoist me up, screeching its approval, Dennis comes back out of the room and fires off a shot. The bullet catches the monster on the side of its course, sending it backwards and causing it to freeze for a moment. It releases me and I hit the ground, dropping my gun again, and again finding myself unable to breathe. I feel slightly dizzy, but that fades when I see Dennis is still standing outside of the door. He's firing until he feels like a madman and doesn't see the one to his left, in along the edge of the wall. I might not move. Hearing my voice, he turns to look directly at me, but this is the opposite of what he needs to do. For fuck's sake. Behind him, the creature glides up, shaking back and forth in space as it moves. By the time Dennis turns and sees the creature coming, it's already drawn several of its appendages back to strike. Dennis tries to raise his gun, but is knocked away by one of the tentacles. A second strikes, and Dennis is spun around and thrown off balance by the attack. Dennis catches himself before falling. The third tentacle wraps around Dennis's forearm, and I see it squeeze, tightening instantly. The tip of the appendage passes straight clean through his hand, its blood-soaked tip poking out from his palm. Dennis' face grimaces with pain as he tries to wrench his arm free. But the creature's tentacle has his hand speared like a nail through wood. In a moment of dark clarity, I realise that I can free him with a clean shot at the monster's tentacle, but it will likely mean blowing Dennis' hand off. Dennis, I yell over. The creature's high-pitched static sound. Can you get free? I have a shot, maybe. No, Dennis gasps as the creature tosses him around by his hand like a puppet. Don't shoot, I can get free. I can't tell if he's right, but with the monsters are starting to encircle him, I need to act fast. Can he get free or can he not get free? I don't know, help. I want to help him, but I don't want to shoot off his hand. Dennis is fighting hard to get everything he can to bring the gun around with his good hand. He screams as he tries to tear his hand away, screaming in both fury and desperation. This only seems to anger the creature, which then swats Dennis with another of its tentacles, opening a deep gash across his cheek. His skin peels back and his eyes go wide with shock. The creature drops him to the ground as if playing with him, and then the floor and the space around Dennis seems to walk. Uh-oh. The bottom quarter of his body seems to disappear before I realise it's being merged with the floor. And at that moment I know it's over. Three others swarm him, surrounding what remains of his fallen body. I don't even hear Dennis scream, there's just a frenzy of the crackling, sickening wail sound, and after that there is nothing else. Fury, sorrow and absolute rage surge through my heart. I grab my gun as the remaining beasts come towards me. They'll kill me, but I don't care. This is war as far as I'm concerned. This is... Amy grabs me from behind and pulls me hard inside. I try fighting her off, but she's persistent. part of my mind knows she's right. Don't be an idiot, she yells to me. She practically throws me through the doorway. As I fall, I hear her fire off 2 shots before slamming the door closed behind her. I watch blearily as she punches a few buttons on the control pad in the wall. This is followed by metallic door locks. We're safe in the chamber, but Dennis is gone. We are now inside a large reinforced chamber of sorts, almost like the inside of a submarine. Near us is the door shut tight. Far away from us, along the back of the wall, are all sorts of controls and monitors. It seems clear that this metal door is impenetrable, at least to them. I'm fairly sure that they aren't getting in. Dennis, I say. I'm sorry, Amy says, and I'm sorry for pulling you back, but you were walking to your death out there. I know, I say, but that doesn't make it any easier. I couldn't quite see, but it looked like you may have had a shot. Why didn't you take it? Amy asked. Oh, well, he told me not to shoot. I thought he would get away. Roger, Amy says. My God, I'm sorry. There's no way you could have... No. Who did I think I was? Trying to bring him into this wretched place, hoping to save his life. A lot of good that did. I ended up letting him die right in front of me anyway. Out of nowhere, the image of Dennis pumping his fists after winning a game of pool pops up into my head. Dennis always wins, always gets away, except for this time. It's terrible for me to say, Amy says, but you're right, he's dead. We're still alive and we need to get out of here. How, I say, nearly mocking her. By taking it one thing at a time. We need to figure out how bad this is and how to get ourselves under control, and then we are interrupted by a man's voice booming behind us. Just what in the hell do you think you're doing? The man roars. He's an older man who seems to exude power and authority, but he also looks tired and scared. I assume this is Barksdale. He looks over to us from the back recess of the chamber. We didn't have a choice, Amy responds. We had to. Did you override the locks and the hangar doors? Barksdale demands. Yes, I did, but we had to. Do you have any idea what you could have done? Amy doesn't answer right away. She's furious, but she is also scared and visibly exhausted. Who the hell is this? Oh. I addressed my question to Amy, preferring to get my info from her rather than whoever this is. The man doesn't break eye contact with Amy. Colonel Barksdale, he runs the place, she says, annoyed. Look, Barksdale, she says, you can berate me and lecture me all you want when this is over. But right now I have a wounded civilian here, and as you can see, several entities trying to get into this room. So if you could actually do something instead of sitting on your throne and yelling at me, that would be great. I'm impressed by her guts and wonder if there is some sort of beef between the two of them. Surely working in a place like this could cause some stress and tension between people. As we wait, I notice a small peephole in the door. I go to it and look out into the things. They're still looking for a way in, but finding no success. I wonder if they can sense or somehow see me through the door. Flipping the birds in the thing. Oh, I've got to go with that. I can't help myself. I hold up my middle finger to want to smile defiantly. I get a blast of high-pitched sound in response. You'll be reprimanded for speaking to me in such a way, Barksdale says to Amy. Reprimand me all you want. I'd like to survive this first. Cover your ears, Barksdale shouts, walking away towards the far end of the room. Stay put until you hear back from me. Thank you, Amy says, with fire in her voice. Then she turns to me and says, better do what the man says. Why? I'm just going to cover my ears, so I'm just going to go with the flow. I clap my hands over my ears just in time to protect my hearing from a deafening blast. I can still feel my blood rushing out and wonder if this is what Dennis felt like at the beginning of his end. Before the sorrow of losing Dennis can consume me, something slaps against the wall of the room with tremendous force. I assume this is just another of the monsters slithering along the wall, but when I turn backwards towards the door, I hear something surprising. More bursts of a loud explosive noise start ringing out. Looking through the peephole again, I see the core of one of the beasts explode. It vanishes into a puff of smoke and clear liquid. Looking to my left, I see Barksdale in a shooting stance at the far side of the room. He's firing through a small slit in the wall. He's using some high-powered weapon the likes of I have never seen. I see a slight movement as the gun kicks, accompanied by a flicker of white light. Immediately another monster is downed, its tentacles flailing around aimlessly as most of its core is torn through. I instantly feel gratitude and an immense satisfaction in knowing that they are being picked up in such a way. I'm going to keep watching, why not? I slide my up to the peephole again to watch what effect the shots are having outside, because I know the white liquid and gas as the creature's blood sinks and draws up a frenzied bloodlust. Seeing it draws up a frenzied bloodlust in me. Another is blasted in the centre, translucent shell collapsing inwards as its light dies out. Yet another is shot in the mass of floating tentacles, causing its body to disappear as it dips in and out of existence. After several moments, my view is blocked by a splatter of white liquid that covers my peephole. When the firing is over, I barely even notice it. Soon after, Barksdale walks back over to our side of the room. They're all gone, Barksdale says, and I've re-sealed the hangar doors. How'd you kill them like that? I ask. Classified weapons that, quite frankly, you have no business being near. Amy gets to her feet and returns to the panel on the wall. Thanks. How badly is the civilian hurt? Barksdale asks Amy, as if I'm not good enough for him to speak to. A nasty cut, Amy answers. If he gets some quick attention, he'll be okay. Okay, I'll have Strickland get a med kit. Strickland survived? Amy asks, sounding cheerful. Yes, and until you and your friend showed up, I thought we were the only ones. Hang tight, she's on her way. With that said, he retreats away to the back of the room as if he can't stand to be around us. Amy approaches me and looks me over. You're in good hands. Strickland will be able to fix you up. Is she a doctor or something? Sort of. She's also a physicist, but oddly enough, she's spent her time as a trauma nurse in the army. Is Strickland a friend of yours? I ask. Amy chuckles. Yeah, we've known each other for a while. The only women in this are overachieving men. Well, yeah, she must be glad, but Barksdale sounds like a prick. That's because he is, Amy says, but he runs this place, so he sort of has the right. Yeah, Washington or a facility buried under the woods of Kentucky, gender roles stay the same, she says, rolling her eyes. Within a few seconds, the door behind us opens and a woman appears from back further in the chamber. She enters the room with what looks like a small suitcase. She's dressed in a very basic and drab military get-up, complete with a holstered sidearm. My name is Connie Strickland, she says, getting straight to the point. I can patch you up pretty good, but it's going to hurt. I nod, honestly not caring how much it hurts. My God, I just want to get out of here to get home. Sit down and let's see if we can get your shirt off, Strickland says. I sit down, slowly sort of buttoning my shirt. She has to help with the bit off my shoulders, but we manage. How bad is it? I ask. Bad, she says. It looks almost like a burn, but I've seen much worse. I might as well talk to Strickland, if only to distract from the pain. Strickland rolls her eyes as she gathers up a needle and some thread. I was always into fringe science. I started in labs where these eccentric Russian scientists were being funded by the US to work on combining DNA types. I sort of became obsessed with perfecting human psychology while I was a trauma nurse in the army. You're a mad scientist then, I say. I get that a lot, but no, not compared to the real stuff we do here. Well, I do want to know. Kind of stuff. It's complicated. Coma masses, quantum gravity, crunching things down to their What child radiuses? Fun stuff. Yeah, a mad scientist, I say, trying to keep myself calm with dry humour. There are lots of small labs working on this same stuff she argues, they just don't have our funding. When you guys ran in here, she says, I was horrified. Those barrels outside, I'm not sure if you saw them. Well, if you shot them, it could have been bad. Why, I ask. The grey ones are filled with an experimental fuel that is highly flammable. The yellow ones contain liquid nitrogen. Oh, so we don't shoot the grey barrels unless you want an explosion. What? I asked, just laying around. Well, this area is the safest in the building, the most secure. Well, it used to be anyway. And take this, she says, handing me 4 pills, painkillers. They won't work immediately, but they'll do the worst of what you're feeling. Are these the best idea, I ask? Won't they make me dizzy or out of sorts or something? All I get in response is an annoyed and determined look. Oh, I'm going to take him. I dry swallow the pills and she starts working on me. She slathers the wound with some sort of liquid that stings like crazy and I gasp. Ready to stab me yet? Strickland asks. I'm fine, I hiss. Or it should be, I'm fine. I wince as she dabs my eye, swollen from where Marcus kicked me. I grit my teeth in pain and try to catch my breath. The anticipation is the worst part. I'm relieved to find it doesn't hurt much as I'd feared. It's no picnic for sure, but compared to the firelight pain in my wound, it's bearable. So you and Barksdale are the only survivors, Amy asked. It seems that way. Those that didn't disappear into thin air were killed by those things, Strickland says, nodding towards to the secure door. How many were killed? I'm guessing 30 or so, Strickland says. I'm not sure how many were scheduled to come in today. I'm glad to see you. Where were you when it happened, Amy asks. I was in the micro lab on level 2, Strickland replies. Park and O'Brien were in there with me and they just disappeared, I guess. It looked like they were being stretched, distorted, and then there was a ball of white light and then they were gone. That ball of light just annihilated everything it touched. Will it leave a perfectly round hole, I asked. A light bulb turning on in my head. We saw some of those on the locking site. That was probably the same phenomenon, Strickland replies. Amy looks like a child afraid to ask an adult for something. Finally, she asks, where did they go? We don't know, Strickland says. It could be an infinite number of dimensions, or even some dimensions that merge and mix together. It could also be a place that exists between dimensions. Barksdale calls it the void. How is that possible? Oh, dead. They might still be alive. We don't know that just yet, Strickland says. Our understanding of space-time is evolving. Especially when you start walking it like we have been doing, Amy adds. That point seems to be the end of the conversations. Both women fall quiet. I wince for the rest of Strickland's stitching, feeling the tug of my skin, but thankfully no more flowing blood. Finally, Strickland says, you're good to go. I slide my shirt back on, aware of the thick pad of gauze that Strickland supplied to my shoulder. So have you and Barksdale been able to contain all those creatures, Amy asked. Strickland appears shocked, clearly not the reaction Amy was expecting. Contain? Are you nuts? Do you not know what's happening? Amy's eyes widen in fearful confusion. What do you mean what's happening, other than the initial experimental failure? The anomalies are becoming more numerous and further from the source, Strickland says. The casual humour in her voice is now gone. What anomalies? Well, I'm assuming she means creatures further from the source. From the location of the original experiment, she says. The experiment caused a doorway to open, but it set up a chain reaction. They are gaining momentum along the geodesics, eventing from the facility. It's those bits of exotic matter and negative energy that are letting those things in. What the hell does that mean, I ask? It It means, Amy chimes in, that those doorways and monsters are starting to appear all over the facility, maybe even on the surface. Not yet, luckily, Strickland says, but the doorways will start appearing on the surface and it won't stop there. The anomalous reach could extend infinitely as far as we know. Those entities will appear on the surface in other states and in other countries. Holy shit, I say, you mean the world is going to be overrun? The horror of the past few hours has made me ready to believe anything, but this is almost too much. Unfortunately, yes, Strickland says. My God, Amy says, stepping away, so isn't there anything we can do? There is a last resort, Strickland says, her eyes darting over the boat style at the back of the room. There's an emergency fail-safe switch. What? Amy says. I never heard of that. Where? You weren't cleared for it, Strickland replies. And that switch, Amy says, is a way to stop this? Yes, Strickland says, seemingly uneasy with the conversation. What does the switch do? The switches are erased, she says. It destroys the entire facility and terminates any systems or experiments that are being conducted. It's also an emergency shutdown for interdimensional travel. It puts the event horizon around the facility. What the hell is that? I ask, incredulous. It's the perimeter of a black hole, she replies. The boundary inside which nothing can escape, not even light. But there's two problems with hitting the switch. So the first problem is we'd all be killed, sucked into a black hole before we'd have time to evacuate. The second reason, Strickland whispers, suddenly quiet, is that Barksdale won't allow it. What? Amy gasps. Why not? He wants to allow those things to flood the surface. Thousands, millions will die. Strickland puts her hand up, silencing Amy. They both peer over to the far side of the room where Barksdale has his back turned. I know. He says he took care. He says he'll be happy to be rid of the oversight so we can continue his work. The oversight, Amy almost screams, regaining control of her voice over when Strickland gives her another look of warning. You mean our government, I ask? He's aware this could disrupt, even topple our government, and he doesn't care. Strickland sighs. Barksdale is, well, he's off the range right now. He's gone rogue and he's armed. This comment makes me look towards the handgun I brought him with me. I'd nearly forgotten about it in the last few moments. While Barksdale has his back turned, I take it in my hands and slide it behind me, just in time to as Barksdale walks over on the back of the room to our side of the chamber. He gives Strickland a suspicious look before speaking to her. Is the civilian going to survive? He asks. Yes, he's stitched up and good to go, Strickland replies. That's great news, Barksdale says. I'm sitting right here, I say sarcastically. You can actually speak to me, you know. Amy, it's quite nice to see that you have survived, he says. Were there any others? The aloof way this asshole is talking to us is getting under my skin. A guy named Marcus that works on the first level flight, Amy says. That's all I know for sure. Marcus Pabscott, Barksdale replies. Where is he? Oh, I killed him. I'm just going to be honest. Fuck this guy. I don't like him. He put us in an impossible situation, I say. I was forced to kill him. Barksdale raises one of his eyebrows and lets out a smile. Yes, we're often forced to do unspeakable things for survival. Tell me, have you ever killed before? No, I answer, but he lost his mind. He was violent and... Careful, Barksdale replies with something like dark humour in his voice, and you've just admitted to killing a federal employee. Barksdale seems to think about something and then looks directly at me. You're with the logging crew, aren't you? Remind me, how did you get here again? I'm just going to tell him the truth. I'm probably going to end up killing him. Ah, that makes sense. Cloaks for the entrance shed are tied to a primary source, Barksdale says, and we lost our primary power just before the experiment failed. Cloak, I ask? Yes, Strickland says. The shed you entered is usually not visible to the naked eye. Depending on the power sources that were damaged, Barksdale continues, it could have shut down the locking systems before the backups kicked in. Everything is starting to make sense now. From the very start, it peculiar that we'd so easily been able to walk into a place like this. Where's the rest of our crew? Your crew, Boxtel asks. Frank and Joe, they're gone. Gone? Gone where? I asked, my voice trembling. Hearing him speak the names of my crew enrages me. They were annihilated. Oh, nice. They were annihilated by antimatter pockets created during the failure. A bright ball of light. In the aftermath, all you see will be a round hole in the ground. Boxtel says this like a share in yesterday's sports scores. I let my face crumble into my hands. I had suspected this all this time, and they were already dead. Well, I think the game wants me to ask for that, so why not? Your crew hit one of our main power lines. We aren't sure exactly how, but we know that's what did it. You're trying to blame all this on me, I roar. The timing was, unfortunate, Boxtel says. So Amy asks, what do we do now? Now it's time to continue our work, Boxtel says calmly, turning away to the instruments near the wall. You're insane. Yeah, you are insane. You want to keep your little toys to yourself, I say, my teeth clenched. And you're willing to unleash these monsters on the world to do it? Indeed, Boxtel says. I want to continue my work. Other researchers will eventually discover what we have, sure. But I want it to be me. This is my laboratory. These are my experiments. The work I've led here will earn me my place in history. And quite frankly, I don't need to explain it to you. Up on the surface, they'll struggle to defend themselves since they won't know what they're dealing with. I have the necessary weapons. After a few months, who knows, maybe I'll decide that the world is ready for me to help them, and we'll go from there. Strickland steps up directly beside me and whispers into my ear. I wouldn't push him. She says he's usually very logical, but this whole thing has pushed him somewhere else. He's, well, off. He turns his back to us as he says he's walking to the far side of the chamber like we're some kind of distraction. Amy takes this opportunity to whisper to us. We need to hit that switch, she says. It's the only option. What he's saying is murder, treason, genocide. She looks over to Strickland for support, trailing off. But Strickland looks at the ground, clearly torn. She won't look anyone in the eye and makes an effort not to look at Boxtel. He seems distracted with whatever instruments he's studying on the far side of the room. The dreamlike quality I experienced earlier is wearing off. Painkillers seem to be losing their edge. Strickland finally whispers a response. Even if we decide that we want to hit that switch, Boxtel won't allow us. The hell with him. Fuck this son of a bitch. Amy agrees. Where is the switch located, she asks. There's an elevator out in the hangar, Strickland says. You have to take it to the basement. The switch is at the end of a long tunnel, but Strickland never finishes. Two things happen at once as she speaks, her mouth stopping in mid-sentence. First, a loud beaming noise rings out, and then the top of her head seems to explode. What? Amy screams out in surprise, and I jump back in shock as Strickland's body collapses beside me. Beside her fallen body, Boxtel is holding his experimental rifle, and now he's pointing